So here I'm going to try and match this colour here, this yellowy orange. So when you look at the colour wheel, you've got to try and see which colour on the colour wheel is closest to that colour. So for this one, well, it's a yellowy orange, so I'm going to start with the yellow. So if I just grab a bit of the yellow, and then I start to analyse to see, okay, which way is it now going to go? Well, it's obviously going to go towards orange here. When I hold that next to it, it's way too bright. So in terms of getting its hue initially, that's the first thing we're looking to. I'm going to add a little bit more red to it. So when you're mixing colours, you only need to do a little bit. Yellow isn't very strong in terms of its tinting strength, whereas reds and the blues are a lot stronger. So I just start to mix that in together. Okay, and then I can hold it up, and then you look at the value of it as in how light or how dark. Well, this is still a lot lighter than this colour here we're after, so I can still add a little bit more of the red to it, because red is darker in value than the yellow. If you took a black and white picture of these three, you'd see that would be this one, red would be a lot darker. A bit more. Okay, and when I'm looking this out, I'm squinting my eyes. I'm trying to get it so that there isn't like a jump. When you hold it over it, you squint your eyes at it, you're trying to get so that this and this, merging together so they're just one. Now, I know that it's not the ideal value yet, it's not the ideal tone, it's still a bit too light, but it's a lot closer than where we were to start with, just with this yellow. So now I look at the intensity, the saturation of it, and I can see, okay, this is still way too bright. So what I'm going to do is add a bit of its complement, the blue, to it. So again, I'm just going to add a tiny amount. See how it starts to go in and it's green? You've got to be brave and kind of keep on mixing. Okay, and now I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, it's still a bit too, it's a bit too greeny than this. So I'm going to need to add a bit more of the red. Okay, and that's looking pretty close. Now, when you are checking colours, it's always worth, putting a kind of swatch next to it. I'd usually do this on a piece of scrap paper. And then what happens with acrylics is it dries off, it dries darker. So actually when I look at these next to each other, I can see that that's going to dry a little bit too dark and needs a little bit more of the yellow. So you can just grab a bit more yellow, and you notice how I grabbed a lot more of the yellow than I did of the blue to lighten it, because the yellow isn't as strong. Okay, that's looking pretty good. This is Will Kemp from Will Kemp Art School.